Hey. Welcome to the Comic Book Geeks podcast. This is JW Sims, and we have Demon Phil with us and your other host, Jonathan. Lots of names. I can't read them all. Specs will be with us shortly. He was in the middle of something. He said he'll be on in a few minutes. So we're going to get him to come in. So it's only been a few days since we've been on. Phil was out of town, so he's finally back with us. We should have our full cast on this week, and we can actually have our very first show, our first official show. So, so to start like we normally do for this week or since Saturday. But Phil goes back a little. What have you been reading, watching this since our last show? Anything you want to talk about?
I mean, as far as watching, I finally finished Halo, which I was greatly invested in time-wise and really paying attention to all. And I'm not going to give any spoilers on this per se, but it's one of those that kind of caught me off guard at the end, and not in a positive way. So
we talked about it a little bit last week, but no, we didn't get into spoilers or anything.
Exactly. It's just one of those that, I don't know, I was all built up and ready because I was a huge, ever since Halo 1 coming out on video games, I was all over that thing back whenever we used to hook up Xboxes throughout the house and have six of them with different TVs and land them up and, trash talking by yelling across everywhere instead of in the headsets. We did it old school. And so to see this come out and see what they did and took what I grew up on and put it to the screen as a real image and a real thing that was going on, I was fully immersed. And then it kind of did something else, and I'm just kind of like, okay, they better do something in 2.
I am really hoping that this was just like a prequel season.
Yeah,
because there's a reason why it's called Halo.
No, he made a good point. Like we talked about this last time. They don't pwn any noobs, I guess, technically on the show.
Exactly.
And I said it shouldn't be Halo. It should be called John 117.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree.
We don't see Master Chief except for the first episode and the last episode.
That's probably really annoying for, the Schreiber family. Like if I was Sabretooth, I'd call the producer and be like, hey, man, I'd really appreciate if you give my brother more screen time. Well, he did really hard for you at American Gods.
We saw his butt. That's all. Can't ask for anything more, I guess.
There was that in there, yes.
Yeah. Placate the women.
But yeah, well, how many? I guess that's a good thing, right? The audience needs to be diverse, so let's just keep it positive in that respect. The demographic could be anybody.
Yep. You notice they had to put the scene in the Thor trailer, which we'll talk about later, but where he gets his clothes ripped off and you see his. I was like, yeah.
But to be fair, they also showed her bicep. Remember?
Oh, well, her bicep, yeah.
They zoomed in on something that's appealing on both levels. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. In different ways, I guess.
Yeah, it's subtle, but Disney is proactive. As we've seen. So you gotta keep that in mind whenever you see any trailer, especially that's definitely not, I think, completely Kevin Feige's decisions on like that part of it. That's definitely a Disney thing. Anything promotion wise, I have to assume has got to be completely Disney.
Yeah.
But cool. Maybe Halo will get better. Let's all.
Let's hope. And
hoping so.
I'm trying to think of something that I have.
Are we going to talk about Thor later?
Yeah. When we do the news stuff, we'll get into some of that.
Is Specs with the optometrist?
I don't know where he's at. He said it'd be on about 10 to 15 minutes, so we're pushing 10 minutes. So, trying to think if there was. I've been just trying to catch up on stuff. I'm still unpacking from when I moved in here in January, which is hard to believe.
It happens.
I found this box.
Take your time.
Well, on my bookshelf, I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, what's this stack of comic books sitting there? I pull them out, and it's like my stack of Kickstarter stuff that I haven't read from like the past year.
Right.
And because there was one creator who had put out his newest issue, he's getting ready to put it on Kickstarter, and I messaged him. I was like, "Did I ever get the last one?" And he's like, "Well, I'll get back to you. Let me check." And I'm going through that pile yesterday. I was like, "Oh wait, yeah, I did."
Yeah.
Because I get so much stuff that I
Did you buy all that?
Yeah.
So you're not really crowdfunding, just that one guy you're funding.
Oh no, I crowd in my. This is a little secret I don't tell everybody, but on my other show, which is on Friday nights, and we do like Kickstarter promotion and stuff. I have backed every person that's come on that show.
Oh,
so
well, that's
yeah,
you are the crowd then. You're the swarm.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, so I have so many. Oh, it's just, and then there's ones I like, so then I keep like every time they come out, I keep grabbing it again, so I could.
It's all been good stuff though, right? Like it hasn't ended up being like a prototype or something that nobody wanted, but you were like supporting your friend.
Yeah, it's all been good stuff. There was one that I found early last year. I don't even know how I found it because I didn't know any of the creators, and I got the first 2 issues and I was blown away. It was like the best comic I'd read in like, I don't know how. I was like, oh my god, where did I find this? Where did I find this? Like, I don't even know like how I found this on Kickstarter. Like, it must have just been one of those things where I seen their pictures, like, oh, that looks cool. Let me get that one.
Do you remember the title?
Gosh, I don't. I was just telling Phil, I've had 2 brain surgeries, so I've lost. Like, I'm lucky I can remember my name a lot of times.
Oh, all right. You got to pass. It's not just you're like a stoner. So.
Yeah. No. Well, I don't know what state everybody. Oh, I know it's legal where you are.
I'm in California. We're not complaining.
Yeah. So,
I'm in Tennessee. They don't know what it is, so it's all good.
They've been smoking it since the beginning of time. They just don't know what it is. They didn't know
That's really funny. I mean, isn't it called bluegrass? Just like one state near you? I mean, like, I've been to both Kentucky and Tennessee, and they both have their own versions of like, alcohol and weed that like they'll claim is the best on the planet, And I'm like, you guys got to visit California. I mean, I don't know anything about the alcohol. Don't get me wrong on that. Like, they definitely corner the market on bourbon. But like when it comes to like the coast that grows the most,
that is true.
But anyways, I have a good feeling that a lot of the people that draw and write the comic books that we engage in and get all geeky about are extremely pro ganja.
I think so.
Like last week proved it. That was great.
Yes, I watched the show. Yes, I did.
I don't know what was going on there. I just sat back and let it go.
All you can do, yes.
Because you cannot rein him in. It just doesn't work. You notice when you try, he would just turn it around and make it something else.
Yeah, it was hard because you're like, come on, just try to just get back on the lane.
Yeah, it doesn't work with him.
No, but eventually he said what he was working on. I mean, and then like he prefaced it with like being.
Uh-oh.
You're breaking up, Jonathan. The government found you. Now you froze. That's a great expression to have on your face when it froze.
Depressing and sad about his previous. All right, let me see. Am I back?
Yeah, now you're back.
There you go.
We missed everything. That's all we heard.
All right, so the Morse code community is a big following for me. So that'll help out a lot. Thank you. He prefaced it on the last show, Raven, all of his work being kind of like sad and dark and suffering, right? So then I wasn't even sure if I should ask about other content, like I didn't know if it would like, trigger an episode or something, but but in any respect, maybe it'll give us like more content from him. And like I was saying to my other friends, like we got to lead with more positive and let the audience find out how dark it is on their own. You know?
Oh, trying to think. Like I was reading. Like I said, I talked about last week, Shadow War. That Batman, Robin, Deathstroke kind of crossover.
Mhm.
And the issues that came out this week for it, like, it's very spoilery. Like, I wanted to talk about it, but I was like, oh, it hasn't even been it just came out like last week, so can't. Oh, look who's joining us, Mr. Specs. If I can get him to come on. You there, Mr. Specs?
I am.
All right. He's
Hello.
What's up,
Yeah.
man?
What's going on,
How are you?
I'm good, man. Just getting out of work, so excuse my white image right now.
So
Me too, man. Me too.
When you get home, you need to have a hat on, though. Like, when you actually get on the camera, you need to be wearing a hat to fit in.
I got all this extra hair. I don't know if I'm able to do that.
Hey, I've seen guys in like baseball teams with that giant hat over,
Those are the best.
where it's not even like fastened in the back.
Yeah, that's basically how I would do it.
So we were just talking about the things we've read or watched since the last time we were together. Is there anything that you had wanted to talk about?
I've been reading the last Ronin. Like, I'm not quite done with it, so I haven't read the last issue, but I've been reading that lately. And then,
is that the TMNT one?
yes, it is.
Yes, that's good.
It got me. I mean, I think I'm on 4 or 5 right now, and it got me captured, but it's not really. I don't know what timeline it is because it's not following the current run.
Yeah.
So like
I think it's just its own standalone kind of story. The reveal at the end of the first issue
it threw me off with it threw me off with Baxter Stockman when he's a cyborg instead of a fly.
Yeah.
It threw me off. So
yeah. The hook at the end of the first issue got me because that was the last person I expected it to be. Like,
well, somehow I knew it was him because I feel like back in the day there was another one that was similar to this story that said he was the last one.
yeah, it just didn't seem like his character that as we came to know him. So.
Well, he's a younger brother though, so
Yeah,
it's a movie trope. Only thing I don't like about it so far is like how fast and easy the brothers can got killed off. I thought that was pretty quick. Like,
yeah,
especially how much they go through in the comic in general, and just how they die in general. And that book's like, oh man, it's like a throwaway, man.
it's just like we need to get him to be the last one for the story purpose.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it real quick. Like, Raphael was like, really?
Was he the virgin? Yeah. Was he like the blonde virgin at the end of the horror movie? He had to be the one that survived.
No, it's not. It's not Raph. That's who I thought it was.
Yeah.
Spoiler: it's not Raph.
Yeah.
That's who I thought it was, but it was.
I mean, why would you assume with Raph though? Just because who he is?
Yeah, in the way that like the characterization I thought fit more with the way he acted and stuff. Fit more with Raphael. Wow, someone's flying by. Either that, or he just went into a time warp. One of the two.
Where are you? When are you?
Yes. Yeah. You said what?
Where did you go?
Oh no, that's just this Mustang beside me that sounds like that, and I can't figure out why a 2010 up Mustang sounds like that.
We thought you stepped into a time warp.
Yeah. 88 miles an hour right there.
Yeah, exactly. How's Doc?
Yeah, exactly. 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, the flux capacitor. If you guys ever, you can buy or you can look it up on like O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Did you know that?
Yes.
No way. How much does it cost on there? Like an outrageous amount, so you can't really buy it.
Oh, I mean, I think it's like price on request. So
yeah. Yeah. So when you ask them, they're like, "Dude, we don't really have it."
Like, well, why is it in your inventory?
Yeah, I would say.
I always thought it was just a blender. That's what I always thought it was.
Oh yeah.
It does kind of.
I mean, I just think it's cool that it's available there. Like on some level, you know, in the future when the internet's still around and a lot of us aren't, they can still look that up. You know.
Oh my God, they used to time travel.
Yeah.
Problem is,
My next question is like, how long has it been on their website or in their inventory?
yeah,
Since the 70s or when? You know.
Yeah. Well, since 1985.
So, no, it's been in there since you know, the Wild West,
Yeah, 1885.
1885.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
They used to
Well,
sell it on
they
the
should remake
wagon
the
train.
Back to the Future movies at this point. Like they remake everything else. I mean,
Who would be your Doc Brown?
That's blasphemous.
oh my God, you think that's? Excuse me. I'm not saying that the old ones aren't going to hold up.
No, but I'm so sick of like reboots and remakes. It's like come out with something new.
Okay, what about if it was like the Ghostbusters is a continuation? Like
Well,
they
that's
find
different.
a DeLorean.
If
That's
it was
different.
like a
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's a sequel, you know, they could have new people on it, but don't go back and say, "Oh, this is the new Marty, this is the new Doc,"
Well, you got Rick and Morty.
which is the
I mean, yeah.
same thing.
Exactly.
What it
I
is.
mean, at this point, it would be a nice homage if you wanted to make like a new one, you know, and you could do the whole movie shaky cam. Excuse me.
Just make a Rick and Morty live action, and you could.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty go back to the future. All right, I'm gonna get my rights to that right now. So no one else can- what am I looking for?
Well, just let's do the math. Like it would be like 30 years ago now, right? Or like how did it was it 1955, right? So
Yeah,
now it would be like what we could do. Like it comes out in like say 2025, right? So 1995. Wouldn't that be great? We can go back to 1995.
Wild time.
I don't know. I mean, I guess we're all kind of old, so I would still be an adult. So I don't know.
Well, I'll be 4.
Well,
I'll be 4 years old.
So it's a little bit better for you. I'm like, I'll have 2 legs.
Well, 2055 would be cool. You know,
Yeah.
like we went, but I don't know if we really all want to go back to like 1925.
What year did they go to in the future? I don't even remember.
Well, it was 2015. It was like 30 years in the future.
Yeah, that's right. 2015. Wow, they missed the boat on that one, didn't they?
It's a little bit.
I mean, we still got the shoe. We got the shoes. We got DeLorean. We got Siri. So I mean, it close.
They have the hoverboard. Have you seen the hoverboard?
Well, the actual, like, the real things they made, like, you know, there is one like that, but it's not mass produced because people would kill themselves.
Oh yeah, I mean,
People kill themselves on the wheeled ones.
Yeah, they catch on fire.
Well, that too.
They explode.
I've seen like 3 people in my family break their arms on that hoverboard thing.
Oh
yeah.
You're supposed to use your feet though.
Yeah,
You're supposed to use your feet.
I know you're supposed to.
Well, Tony Hawk did it on like a magnetic, was a skate park or something.
Yeah,
with a hoverboard, but you had to have it like magnetized. Or,
well, that's
you know.
no fun.
That's no fun. You can't do that on the sidewalk or in front of City Hall. On the ocean,
Yeah,
water.
exactly. All right. Well, if we have nothing else, we'll move on to our group reviews. What was the first one? Oh, I'll bring it up here. It's Alice Ever After. Now, since we're reading the second one, I'm going to read what the first one is about so people know. But Alice Ever After is written by Dan Panosian with art by, oh my God, people's names. Gregorio Spalletta. And Dan Panosian also does the art, cover art. And he also does art inside the book for the Wonderland scenes. But it says Return to Wonderland is the twisted sequel by superstar artist and writer Dan Panosian. Perfect for fans of, I'm going to mess up this guy's name, Mirka Andolfo's Mercy and Luna. Alice first visited Wonderland as a child. Now an adult, it's her only escape from a cold, strange reality she finds herself living in. But in order to return to her fantasy world, she'll need something stronger than mushrooms that change her size, and is forced to resort to crime to feed her growing addiction. Will Alice choose to escape from her uncaring family and childhood trauma in Wonderland, or find the courage to face her demons in the real world? So that's a pretty much over of what the story's about. Obviously, in the second one, we see her go to an asylum and stuff. But so, what did you guys think of this book?
Yeah. That was unusual.
It was a different look at the story, but it took a darker psychological turn. It was almost like a Silence of the Lambs kind of come in and took a little tweak into this one. It was a lot darker than I expected it to be. A lot of dialogue, so be expected to read quite a bit into here, and don't try to skip. Because if you skip in there, you'll miss things.
Yeah.
And before you know it, she's back in Wonderland and back into the real world. And what's the real world and what's not? I mean, it is a whole. There's layer after layer on this thing, which is kind of cool in how it does it. And the artwork really kind of grabbed me on that to bring me to stay connected into it. I'm interested to see what's going to happen.
Was it really that dark though? Because I know it was a Disney version and it's a real book, but it wasn't a real book just as dark though.
Not.
I mean, the history of the book is real dark, you know.
Yeah.
But
I always knew it was some kind of drug induced thing, and she was rich and stuff like that. But I don't know. Yeah. But it was crazy. I like the extra characters that they added in it. I like that. That was pretty cool.
I liked how it gives you that Alice in Wonderland, the Wizard of Oz thing, where these characters in her real life are like these characters in Wonderland. So you're starting to see like where these connect. So then I start thinking, was Wonderland always just in her like brain, like, or did she really go there at some point? Because when she's a little younger, it seems like she has gone there, but now it seems like it's brought up by her.
I think it's hard. It's hard to debate how to see it exactly, because it's one of those things where it's like, who's correct? If you can't, so they say you're colorblind or whatever, and they give you like the colorblind test. I think that's the same thing with this respect. Is Alice crazy or are we crazy?
Crazy,
you know?
Yeah.
And when they play things out in these books so far, it's cool because it kind of has like a little bit of like that Jack the Ripper era vibe when she's not in Wonderland. And so I'm almost more scared for her going into Wonderland. Like if it is all in her head and her body's just left on someplace, so she's doing the right thing, getting into an asylum.
Like the orderlies.
Wait, say again?
Like the orderlies in the second issue.
Yeah.
When she wakes up and they Tweedledee and Tweedledum have her.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? That doesn't look good. Like, what's going to happen there?
He changed his hat. Yeah, and that reminded me a lot of like Sucker Punch from.
Yes, yeah. Which a lot of people don't like that movie. I happen to like it. But
I love it.
I'm a middle-aged white guy, so that's who the movie was made for.
You could claim that, true. You know, I mean, you could say dancers too, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. That I guess.
I like the soundtrack on that movie a lot. And then like the idea of it was just so cut and dry as far as like, oh, it's a video game that you have to go through all these different missions and finally you succeed, so formulaic. But regardless, the premise of like slowly losing your mind and having somebody outside of you telling what they're going to do to you and not having control over it. I think that's what's twisted about this Alice series is like she kind of has a little control over it and she's letting it happen almost. She wants the medicine. Maybe she's addicted, but she's like cool with Morton dying. And I think, I mean, not to like spoil it for too many people, but the way they arrange it, you're right, with like the Queen of Hearts, being who she is and all the different elements of it. I'm more fascinated to see how they blur it, because the artwork shows that too.
Yeah, and the guy that helps her, he's always got that big grin. So,
it's got to be the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah. So it's just like, what is? But that series, it's from Boom Studios. It's only a 5-issue limited series, so I'm sure we'll talk about that more because I like that book.
I want to say one thing in agreement with Specs, though, is that in agreement with Specs, is that it's the darkness in a way that I don't think, unfortunately, because of American Apogee's Alice, this has a standard to live up to, and all the other versions of Alice, this is coming out after a whole bunch of really dark psycho shit has been about Alice has been released. So
I just finished working on an Alice in Wonderland book not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and that got pretty dark at parts. So we'll see. That was. Anything else you wanted to add, Specs, before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, when y'all talking about the guy with the grin, he might be. Well, he said, "I'm late," or so it could have been a rabbit at the same time.
That's true. I forgot about that part too. Yeah. So,
and I think that was
rabbit.
how only, if I remember the story correctly, he always helped her in certain situations. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Did he go to trial? Did he go to trial in the story?
I don't remember.
If he's the one who went to trial, then it might be him because he got in trouble with these guys. So it might allude to him somehow.
Yeah. Said it's a 5-issue limited series, so make sure we keep up on that one because it was that and Grimm from last week. Those two have been really interesting. I want to see how they continue.
And I'm interested to see who's going to be the Caterpillar character.
Ooh, yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, because the one thing that did kind of get me, it's narrated, for those who haven't read it, it's narrated by her cats.
Right.
So
I love
that. If Katrina Rotes is watching this or watches it later, it's 2 cats that narrate the story. Now I'm wondering, because when she goes into her room, she talks to the cats and they talk back to her.
Yep.
How? I just want to know, are they magic
I think
cats?
There's a psychic thing going on.
Yeah, or is she crazy and these cats are talking to her?
Well, drugs have.
They're like the cat. They're like the cats on Family.
Yeah. Well, the cats know the stuff that's going on even when they're not there, though. They're telling you the story and they're not even there. So I think that they're in her head.
I'll say this: if the author is reading or watching this and listening to this, then that's a very Shakespearean thing to do. The people that are the butlers and the maids are the ones who know everything. The cats and the dogs in this scenario know all the stuff that's going on, know the real deal. On that note, the idea of Alice itself, it was the guy that originally wrote it, Lewis Carroll, Charles Liddell. Charles Ludwig. It was his real name or something like that. This book was written and given to a real girl named Alice, who was had photos taken of her and her sister naked by Lewis Carroll. So there's a twisted backstory that many people know about Alice that I think is seeping finally into the mainstream. There was Alice had her own Me Too moment. Let's put it that way.
On that dark note.
But yeah, I'm excited to read the rest of the series. Sorry to overtalk.
That's fine. It's neat that if people because obviously we're all from different backgrounds, so you actually that's something I did not know about that story. But the next book on our list for this week was Fables number 151, which was weird to number it that because the series actually ended 5 years ago with 150. And this is a 12-issue mini-series but they just took back up the original numbering, and now 5 years later, Fables is back with creative team Bill Willingham and Mark Buckingham. Wow, they both got reuniting for a 12-issue run that picks up just after the events of the final arc. The comic follows two primary plot lines. Bigby and Snow and their 4 cubs have returned to Bigby's old hunting grounds in the aftermath of Snow's truce with Rose Red, while the Mundy, which are the mundane people, while the Mundy world reacts to the discovery of Fabletown in the heart of New York City. The comic also introduces a possible new villain, one with very interesting ties to the original Fables premise, and has a shocking last page return that makes plenty of sense now, given Fables are meant to be immortal depending on the strength of their story. So, I don't know if any of you have read Fables. It is actually like I said, it was a 150 issue story from DC that shows if the Fables were in real life. I mean, that's the best way to overview it.
I didn't get into it. I wanted to. But I remember Once Upon a Time was out at the same time on ABC. And there was like, somebody was like, oh, well, Fables is the mature version of that.
My first introduction into the Fables world was the video game. That Telltale Games, Wolf Among Us. Mm-hmm. And that was just very, like, it drew me in. So I went back and started reading all the books and everything. But I can really see how you would need to have an idea of Fables before you got into this series, just because it picks up in the middle of the story and you're like, what is going on? Like, you wouldn't know that, Big B is Big Bad Wolf, and stuff. So it really relies on you having read the series. And like the big surprise of who the villain is at the end that you see come back to life. If you haven't read it, you have no idea who that person is.
Yeah, you have to assume a lot.
Yeah,
like it's got to be Jack and the Beanstalk. That at the end, am I guessing wrong? Like I have no idea. Like the girl's replacing the old guy. Is it Robin Hood? Like what are we watching here?
Yes, the Jack and the Green.
Mm-hmm.
Jack of the Green. Yeah, that's Jack. That's
Jack.
I
assume it's Jack and the Beanstalk.
Beanstalk. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's moments where like, oh, we got to separate Red and Snow White. I'm like, all right, I'm glad I know who those people are. But if you didn't, if you're not part of our like mainstream, Brothers Grimm fairy tale world, you probably wouldn't have an idea about some of these. But I still thought some of the concepts were cool, and it's like a perfect timing to come back out with Fables, especially when you have like Matt Groening's Disenchantment and The Witcher and things that are of like that sort of like medieval but like twisted humorous thing going on, adventurous too. Was that Peter Pan with Tinkerbell?
I don't. Oh, at the beginning, I can't remember. I don't think it is. It's because they talk about Geppetto.
Yeah, it's definitely Tinkerbell.
Yeah,
sure.
It's Tink, but I don't know who she was with.
Yeah, I don't know who she's with, and they mentioned Geppetto and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, cool. I know the story of Pinocchio, which is the only reason why I know Geppetto. But I do like the idea that they're bringing it back and like presenting it in a way where if people had collected the previous 150, it doesn't seem like they're like the way Marvel does with their rebirths and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Now I have to start with number 1 all over again. It's just like continuing, but it's the first of the series. So I was grateful that I wasn't like, as a new fan, having to go back either, so it works both ways.
Yeah, and I agree with what was said about, if you don't know what's going on with this, it can be very all over the place. And I am not familiar, with the DC version story and everything. So whenever I read this one, I was kind of having to go through it 3-4 times going, I know that name. I think I know where this is going. I felt like Captain America in there. I was like, oh, I know this reference. I caught the reference. It was entertaining if you knew where it was going, but it's like they threw in so many different stories into one issue that it was very all over the place that I couldn't keep up with it, is the way I felt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and 150 issues to read to catch up is a pretty daunting task to expect someone to do. I'm like, oh, good.
I was gonna say that reminded me of a meme I saw where it was like Marvel fans in 2055 having to watch 165 movies and 35 TV shows to understand what's happening in the current film. That's this.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Just a
vampire hanging out with, like, you know, the Grimm brothers when they wrote this. They're the only ones that will truly grasp all the nuances. They were like, oh, dude, I remember that one guy from 150 years ago. Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Specs, what did you think of Fables 151? Do we have Specs? Is he here? Is he not here?
He's there.
He's just a big white circle.
He's a white circle with a white profile, like, little guy. But I saw him bleep the mic on and off for a second. Specs, you around? Tuning in?
Going once?
Oh, we lost Specs.
Oh. I didn't mean you had to go.
I don't want to offend anybody.
Maybe he's home and he's actually going to get on. All right. But anywho.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
If he comes back, we'll go back to it and we'll see what he says. But our third book was on here mainly for myself because I was going to read it anyway and I couldn't figure out a third book. So, is Immortal X-Men #2. And we also read the first issue just so we would have because I hate going into a book partway through a story. But the Quiet Council rules the Krakoan age for better or worse. Now shaken by Inferno and X lives, X deaths of Wolverine, they strive to hold together no matter how much they want to tear each other apart. Writer I always mess up this person. I'm sure someone Karen Gillian.
Yeah, Kieran Gillian, yes.
Yeah, I'm terrible with names. Returns to the world of X with artist Lucas Werneck. To bring us all into the room where it happens. It being the most powerful people on Earth, deciding the fate of the whole planet. Prepare for sinister secrets to be revealed and learn that some secrets are more sinister than others. Well, that's a perfect thing for the first issue because now, I noticed in these first two issues, I don't know if this is how it's going to be through the length of the series, but the first issue was told from the perspective of Mr. Sinister, and he did all the, he was the narrator. Well, this one was Hope Summers, who was the narrator. It isn't like a different view, like it's just the next part of the story was told by a different person. So I don't know if that's how it's going to be the whole run of the book, but that was interesting because I really liked seeing it from Sinister's point of view in that first issue. And so I was hoping it was all going to be like told from his point of view, but
I mean, it kind of was. There's parts that were in the second book.
Yeah. But Hope is because he would put in his little remarks off to the side, and but the thing that they're doing with Hope, I don't know if that was always their plan, because if you remember when she was brought into the X-Men, at that point there had been no mutants born. It was after House of M and all the power, and she was the first mutant that was born again, and then Cable and Bishop at that point was evil, and he was trying to kill her, so Cable took her and hid her in time. So if you haven't read it and you read there when she says dad, when she calls him dad, she's talking about Cable, who really isn't her father. And I hate that they give her red hair and they call her Summers, because then you keep thinking that it's Scott and Jean's kid, and it's not. It's nobody. She's not even related to them. So it's just confusing as all crap. But
reminds me of like this Clone Wars saga that people forgot about.
Oh, I love the HBO.
It was, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was good. One thing that I will say is, if you're going to be reading this book, pay attention to those files that are in there. Those pages with the file thing, they're just thrown in. They seem like they're random. They are not. Yeah. There is key information that's in there, and a lot of times it's not only just key, but it's fun.
Yeah.
But he was, like we were talking about, from Sinister's point of view, whenever he's writing a file and he's talking about how much he dislikes somebody or something like that, he's writing it down in a file and then, puts that off to the side and everything, but we get to see what all is written down on there. And I like seeing that side of it with that.
Yeah. It was,
Spec is back. Tell a friend.
Well, now I just got to get my glasses on because everybody else has glasses on.
All right, now you got to join the crew.
Yeah. Look, Specs doesn't have a hat. He's clean shaven.
I mean, I can try to make a hat.
Yeah.
Quick,
But you have hair. The rest of us are like...
make a little hat.
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of...
Yeah. Mine's almost gone, so...
I can't take my hat off. It'll blind everybody. That's why I keep going off and do that.
That's kind of you.
Yeah, so I forget what I was going to say. But as someone who reads the X-Men a lot... it's almost refreshing to see a book like this where it's not superhero team goes and fights some bad guy, because they have 7 other X-Men books in the month that do that. So yeah. I like this where it's the leadership and we're seeing like the government part of this X-Men stuff and that kind of interaction. Like I really liked in issue 2 where what's his, I can't think of his name now. He was Magneto's. No, the dude that was Magneto's acolyte forever.
Exodus.
Yeah.
How he keeps calling her Messiah, and there's that one part he says Messiah, like, but you're the Messiah, and it's just like it's that whole thing because he's like a very zealot person. I mean, if you remember from the '90s when he was with Magneto,
Logo.
And so he constantly needs to attach to somebody like that. But the part with Selene, it was like, can I ever say her name? Is it Selene, whatever?
Yeah, Selene.
Whenever how she takes care of her, I was like, dang, that's cold, man.
Yeah.
But brilliant.
One thing I didn't know was, okay, do they know they use a protocol to bring her back? Or because Xavier's like, if she comes back, would you
Yeah, he didn't know. He didn't know because she's one of the 5 who bring people back. So she just had them bring her back without telling anybody.
So did she break a law? Or did she? Or they don't know?
No, because they're like the people who decide who gets brought back and who doesn't. Not Xavier.
So
there's
if that's
there's
the
a
case,
queue.
if that's the case, why did
when they didn't bring back
no, the Hellions. Why they got in trouble now?
The Hellions. When did they get in trouble? Well, because they were like just going.
No, because remember the whole thing about the spaceship and Psylocke's child and.
Oh yeah, but the thing with are you talking about like how he wanted to bring back Madeline Pryor?
Yeah, but she's back though.
No, she's not.
No, it's Emma Frost. Wasn't it Emma Frost?
She's in the Spider-Man books.
Who, Madeline Pryor?
Yeah, getting ready to team up with the clone of Mary J.
I don't know. I haven't been reading Spider-Man.
I mean, I haven't either, but I mean, I know that's that part of the story. Cause they were like they started being all buddy, and like joke was they're both clones, so that's why they're friends. They both clones are redheads.
So that's weird because I didn't think they were going to bring her back because she was.
Because they're going to invade the Hellfire Gale this year.
Unless someone else brought her back, but she's not. I don't know. Like I said, I don't read.
I mean, I didn't remember either. I mean, it's news to me too. I mean,
this is some elaborate soap opera stuff right here.
Yeah, because that was the whole reason why they told Havoc they wouldn't bring her back because she was a clone. She wasn't a real person, so they wouldn't bring her back because of that. And that's when he went buku mad, and I just thought it was that whole storyline was weird. That you fall in love with your brother's girlfriend's clone, who was also his girlfriend, and they have a kid.
The only thing I like about this story, I feel like Destiny is written different than the other books.
Well, she's not the same Destiny, for one thing. You got to remember she's brought back from a earlier time, so she's not Destiny from when she died.
Oh no, she's different from the other X-Men book. That's what I mean. Like,
Oh
same
yeah,
way
yeah,
Jonathan
Yeah.
Hickman's run. It's just a different character. I'm like,
yeah. They write
what's
her
going on?
different in there. The opening scene in the first issue, though, I liked with what? No, Specs. You were on here on two different screens. You drove. That was like weird. I was like, "There's two Specs." He cloned himself. Someone made a clone of Specs, and we're. And now he's frozen in time. See, we discovered it. He's like, crap, they found me out.
We've been watching Phil clone all day, in hats. So, I mean, unless it's like a hat, sort of like QVC thing going on over there.
Every segment, he's going to wear a different hat.
Yeah, right. No, it's just another clone. It's different personality.
The man of 1,000 hats.
I can neither confirm nor deny said statement.
All right, Specs. You're
that's
like
a great way to freeze. Like, I want to be frozen like that. Because it's like permanent happiness all the time.
Yeah, you're gonna be happy forever. Oh no, he's gone.
I usually get frozen like.
Yeah, I'd be like the worst possible way you can. All right, is this the real Specs?
Yeah, want me to stand up?
Stop cloning around.
Yeah, quit cloning around. We had two of you on here at one time.
Yeah, my computer internet just, I don't know.
I was like, wait, how can we have two Specs?
Well, I wanted to say something about that X-Men issue that we did
Yep.
read this week. Was two things. It felt like it definitely tied into the Warpath comic we read, by the whole like Krakoa bringing back to life vibe, and I hope they keep doing that in a way, because that book was clearly from his perspective, right?
Yeah.
So if what I'm missing here, that I'm now like all connecting, is that like the writers of this series, I guess, are playing with the idea of like seeing it through new eyes or whatever it is, for the audience and for the characters. And some of it was like bizarre, like all the Mr. Sinister stuff was like fun on some level, because he's clearly like, I'm just doing hero shit, and you're like, there's no reason on Earth, in any universe, that you would say that. But it's fun because for this like one heartbeat of a moment, they all agree just to put it all aside, and just like go after this, like, and like the thing with Storm and Magneto working together was a strong, like, for me, it kind of called back to like the Days of Future Past movie. But it also was like a really cool idea that like, oh, cool, look at that. It's like they're doing what do they call that when you put the needles and you electrocute them? Acupuncture, right? But for the bug. So it was.
Oh
sorry.
yeah, like how they killed, like tried to kill it. That was neat.
Yeah, it was like electroacupuncture. Like the writer one day was like trying to deal with the carpal tunnel and was like, "Oh, I figured out how to use these mutants."
It's like, in the last 70 years, how did someone figure out to have Magneto throw metal and have her electrocuted? Like,
right. I mean, at least to like relieve Xavier's like back pain, something.
I think he'd get a sore neck from wearing that helmet all the time.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Hey, my problem is I read all of the books except for New Mutants, so I don't know where this takes place at, because, like, according to X-Men Red, all this already happened already, but we're not getting this Episonic books with this stuff. So like,
I think
Storm and Magneto's already
yeah, and X-Men Red, yeah,
and
the way
the Chimera thing is going on in. I don't know if it's Secret X-Men. It's the one that Wolverine he done flew into that spaceship, and he's collected each a kidnapped mutant. Like one of them was like Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
that's going on in that issue. So like, what does this take place at? Is it like a throwaway issue? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's just there is no.
Did Brian Michael Bendis write this one? Like, what's going on?
The best way that I find to do it is in the back. You know how they have like that little checklist that. I tried to read them in that order. That kind of gives you, but it's still because it's just ever since COVID and we had that time period where comics were all screwed up. X-Men got real, like a lot of the books got way out of like discombobulation time wise, I think, and it's just they've never caught back up to it.
Time for a reboot.
Yeah. Oh, don't. No. Whenever they did this one with the X-Men, at first I was like, I hate it. Because now that they can't die, it kind of like, there's no, if we die in this mission, all right, they'll just bring us back to life. That's why I've really liked Kitty's character, because for some reason she can't use the teleportation thing. Like, she can't go through the gates. And when she died, they had trouble bringing her back. So it almost makes you think she's not really. She's not really a mutant.
They can't die over there either.
Yeah, because if you die in whatever that place is called, you don't come back right, because that's what happened to the one guy from Hellions. And when they brought him back, he was all messed up in the head. So yeah, you can't die there because they can't bring you back for some odd reason. But
so wait, can you guys clarify something for me?
Mm-hmm.
Destiny, is that a robot?
No, that's Mystique's wife.
I got that. It just reminded me a bit of Vision in the way that she was drawn.
She just wears that metal mask.
Yeah, because she freaks out.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was hoping maybe that like we get like the Scarlet Witch and Mystique and Vision and Destiny, and they'd have like a conversation. She's like constantly bombarded with all these like possible futures. Yeah, it's like possible futures. So the helmet kind of.
And I think the helmet blocks psychic things too.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's like if you read it, they wouldn't bring her back. She's been dead for a long time. And they wouldn't bring her back because she would know about their plan with Moira McTaggart. And so if you haven't been reading it, there's a lot to catch up on.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, I'd like to catch up on that on some, because it feels like I have to like have like a special Venn diagram to point me in the way.
You need one of these. Hold on.
Comprehend all
He's got something. Hold on. He's going to show us.
He's done all the homework.
You're gonna need one of these right here.
Oh, is that the X of Swords? Yeah.
Oh, that brings it all together.
Well, that's one of the crossovers from a couple of years ago. But they have actually put them all like in the
that one too.
Indians. Which one's that one? Oh yeah, that's the Hellfire.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you know much, but I have this thing with Scarlet Witch. So if you could see, I don't know, on the top two shelves over here, it's all Scarlet Witch stuff. Because I guess I say soulmate. I don't know the best way to put it, but she.
Are you Tommy? Are you Billy?
Yeah, my my soulmate. She was like my best friend. She was big into Scarlet Witch, and 3 years ago she committed suicide. Well, I'm not sure. She died. And everyone said she committed suicide, but I know her better than about anybody. I know she wouldn't do that. I think it was an accident. But I used to buy her Scarlet Witch stuff for her birthday, for Christmas, or whatever. And so I keep still buying it, but I just put it on these shelves for her. So I have tons of crap. And
that's cool.
The last like couple pages of that Hellfire gala just like gutted me. Like to see, I don't know if you've read it, and it was just like, oh my god, that's just, I couldn't even read it. I had to put it away.
So could you read Trial Magneto?
Yeah, because it was them bringing her back, and then I in a way liked it because they kind of made her Magneto's daughter again, but not officially. But he says that you'll always be my daughter because when when Fox still had the X-Men, Disney got PO'd and made it so her and Pietro weren't mutants anymore.
All right, good point. That's an awesome transition, I think, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yep.
Into the whole like Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness, and all of it ties in. WandaVision, What If series, like all of these like little like call them like one shots or whatever, but like these various Marvel like things that they've released in the MCU anyway, have like built up to this now a real amazing opportunity for the Scarlet Witch to come to her own, like even Endgame and Infinity Wars, like it's all been building this sort of like thing that I got so excited when I mean, for me, I didn't realize that I was as invested. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't realize how invested I was until I saw Evan Peters appear in WandaVision, and I like literally jumped out of my couch, and like, you know, all the connections came together. And like my friend who was sitting there with me was going, "Why are you tripping out like some crazy nerd?" I'm like, no, let me tell you, you know, like all the thoughts happening at the same time, and I'd like break it down. And then she was like, "I don't get it." I'm like, "Fuck." All right. So then we had to watch all the X-Men movies again, not the first three, but
yeah,
you know, and then it clicked, you know. So
yeah,
I've always been a fan of like respecting canon, right?
Yeah. And
that was one of the things that kept screwing up. Like, you know, Professor X doesn't recognize his stepbrother, right? Now we got to have this like stupid, like, you know.
And one has a British accent and one has a Scottish accent for some reason.
Well, at least they're on the same island. I'll give him that much.
Yeah.
He got close. It's better than being like he was, if like his stepbrother was Wakandan, you know, it was like just.
Hey. While we're like, I don't know, this is just something popped in my head. Have you ever seen the Pride of the X-Men cartoon from like the 80s?
That one episode?
Yeah, it was just one episode. It was a movie. And
oh yeah,
Wolverine was voiced by an Australian actor. I always tell everybody they were telling the future.
Right, yeah.
Because he would be played by an Australian actor later on. Because that was a big gripe for everybody. He's like, he's Canadian, not Australian.
That's an extremely like long in the making Easter egg, is what you found there.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
They knew the person who made that was a time traveler.
Yeah, they were like Kevin Feige's dad. You know, it was like, I'm telling you, man, I got this whole thing plotted out. They won't realize it in the comic books. But yeah, so like I thought it was really cool that Wanda really got her own sort of like, you know, place as the all-powerful being that she is with Doctor Strange too. Sorry, spoiler alert. If you didn't see it coming, you didn't watch WandaVision. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah. Phil hasn't watched any. He should be on with Katrina on Friday nights because I think she is just now getting the Hawkeye. So she's way behind too.
I did watch Hawkeye. At least I got that one down.
There you go.
Did you see Falcon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And WandaVision.
And WandaVision.
Yeah.
Well, that I can say, like, without a doubt, if you follow WandaVision like really intently, is exactly what Doctor Strange 2 is. So it's almost silly to me that like somebody didn't have more, like maybe Vision said some stuff in like the Endgame and the Avengers movies and stuff, or at some point I have to go back and watch them again. But like it's surprising to me that there wasn't more of like a heads up to control her better, you know?
Yeah.
But what did you guys think of the movie?
I see. It's hard for me because they pretty much threw WandaVision out the window. At the end of WandaVision, you get this where she realized she did something wrong, and she's trying to make it right. And now you start Doctor Strange, and she's already off the cliff. Like she's not even like when he goes there, you don't even see like her how she gets pulled back into the evil side. He goes there, and she's like, "Oh, this is all fake. Look, this place is actually destroyed. It's crap. I'm just lying to everybody." So, and then she's like, villain instantly. There's no.
I beg to differ, because at the end of WandaVision, she takes out Agnes, who has the Darkhold.
Yes,
and that corrupts immediately.
But if you also remember, at the end of WandaVision, there was two Wandas.
Yeah, I mean,
there was
one
her
to take
sitting,
care of the kids.
She was sitting there, like on the porch, and then they showed the spirit one on reading the Darkhold. So they don't show you how that, you know, there was no build up to her being evil. It's just like, oh, Steven comes and visits her, and now she's evil. Like,
well, I mean, in the What If series, with the way that Heartless Strange had that like that one the one off, it really gave me insight into how dangerous the Darkhold is.
Yep.
To then like see how quickly, and I'm also like a big fan of Ash versus Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, and the same concept of like this book that could corrupt pretty incredibly. Being out there was what I think all of Doctor Strange 2 was like, going back to over and over and over. Like, let me hit you over the head how important protecting your libraries are.
What I just want to know: does Sam Raimi have a book fetish?
I think so.
Because it's like, we gotta have evil books in my movies.
I think he liked the Page Master growing up. I think that's what it was.
Because he just has this thing for evil books. Oh, you're making a movie with an evil book in it? I'll direct it.
I'll do it. Yeah, like, sign me up. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I do like Bruce Campbell's cameo.
Yes.
And God bless Sam Raimi for keeping that guy, working.
I really loved the second after credit scene when they came back to Pizza Papa, and he's beating himself up. It's like the total homage to Army of Darkness.
Well, I mean, it's not only an homage to Army of Darkness. I feel like it's an homage to every time that happens in all the movies. Like, who was it? One of the X-Men movies where they told the guy, just keep walking and, until you're you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that piggybacked into the TV series. Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I've watched Ash vs. Evil Dead again also, and I just love how like Sam Raimi with 30,000 is just as impressive as he is with like 30 million or whatever it costs for 300 million. There was a really there was some parts of it that I was like sort of like all right, I guess like the America Chavez part I really enjoyed, but I also think like the thing about like punching into a star-shaped pattern is always silly, even though I know that that's her thing. You know what I mean? You're like, all right. They have to do it.
I just felt that she was a MacGuffin in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like she really had no purpose except for this is the thing you're chasing.
Right. Well, this
like,
is yeah. She was just like I think she was like the to tie it back into Alice a little bit. She was a White Rabbit.
Yeah. Because she served no purpose in the film whatsoever.
But either did Charlize Theron.
Yeah, well, that sets up.
Well, I don't know what character is she.
Oh, is her name Claire? It's in the comic books. It's Doctor Strange's wife. She's the daughter of Dormammu.
Okay, yeah. I was like, is that Dazzler? It's not, but no. I mean, like,
yeah. And actually, in the comic books right now, she's the Sorcerer Supreme because Steven is dead.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So you think if American Chavez had a better backstory or like 30 more minutes of the film or something like that would have been better?
I agree.
I just hope I think that they're going to make America Chavez show is what I'm assuming is going to happen with this. And it'd be interesting to see her like find her parents. I think that's kind of what that show, because I mean that was her whole like thing. My parents got sucked into this the first time I did it. And now I don't know where they are. And they made
if they do, it'd be like the Naomi show. It won't be no material for them to pull from. So it'd just be a random show about random stuff.
Actually, America Chavez has been around for like 10 years now or something like that.
What's a good story arc for her?
Yeah, but Young Avengers.
Young Avengers, yeah.
Exactly. If you look at it for everybody they've already introduced and all this, they've already introduced almost everybody into this. She-Hulk next on the list. That's Young Avengers already set up. They can do the Avengers thing and just hopefully do it right this time.
That's right.
The only person they need to still bring back is Little Kang, so he can be Iron Lad. So.
Right. Well, they have that kind of. He was in Endgame. Like I think they put him there for a purpose. They could have found any other kid. They're like, oh, damn it, he grew up so fast. But like in reality, that's perfect for him to transition.
Yeah, to be Iron Lad, but he wouldn't be Kang Jr.
No,
as Iron Lad. So it's like not the same character. But everyone else is there.
Yeah, they've taken a lot of liberties.
Now, my theory is because Olsen.
Scarlet Witch.
She's still signed. I know, but I was trying to think of her real name. She's still signed for some more films or projects with Marvel. So obviously, she's not dead. My theory is that Scarlet Witch did die, but we don't know because we saw this little red thing and she could have, blipped out of there. But
She's immortal.
I have a feeling that the other Wanda with the kids is going to be the new Scarlet Witch, and that way we'll have the kids alive and they can be in Young Avengers.
I agree. I also think the way that they ended it with Vision and WandaVision, where he said, I was this, I was this, I was this, and now I'm like the, realization of an idea. It just kind of, and he goes, I look forward to what I'm next. Like Vision never like completely goes away. We just hope he doesn't become Ultron. So in that respect, it's like, okay, well, Wanda's never completely going to go away, and hopefully in this respect, honestly, I hope they have like a Quicksilver, TV series now.
I don't know how they're going to do
it. Y'all think they'll pull the scroll thing that says it was the scroll, not the real person?
When?
Did he freeze?
He did.
No, he didn't. I see his eyes blinking.
Oh my god!
It's
like,
who is a Skrull? Do I think who is a Skrull?
Squirrel Girl?
No, Skrull. A Skrull.
Oh, Skrull. Oh, Skrull.
Did y'all hear me?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Could Scarlet Witch be a Skrull?
Where would they got the power from? Because she's magic. She's not a.
Yeah,
She don't have a power.
Right, so they don't have any reason to. They'd have to study. They'd be back to the fucking clones. I'm sorry.
But another thing that I wanted to talk about is the fan service in this movie, because the revelation of the Illuminati, when we see that, and we finally see Mr. Fantastic. John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic. After, that's like everybody in The Brother has fan cast him as Mr. Fantastic. And they all, little spoiler, so if no one's seen it yet, they all get killed by the Scarlet Witch in horrible fashion.
Oh, awful.
Like, it was pretty close to getting an R rating with that.
What they did with what's his face, Black Bolt? Oh my god.
Oh, that was disturbing. But so right after I see the movie, I'm thinking, all right, well, when they do the Fantastic Four movie, it's not going to be John Krasinski because they're going to say, we gave you what you wanted. Now this is how we're going to do it. And I was like, but then I started thinking, all the characters they used in the Illuminati were the characters who played those characters in other stuff. So Black Bolt was, what's his name from the TV show? Anson Mount, who plays Pike on the Star Trek show.
Yeah, and from Hell on Wheels.
Yeah, and he was back in the suit, and and it had the same Mordo and the same, the Xavier that we know, and they were all the same characters. You had Agent Carter back as Captain Carter. So why would that be the one guy that they change? So obviously, John Krasinski is going to play Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four movie, because it wouldn't make sense to have all the other characters who have played those characters be in that scene and then him be the one that you change.
Well, in that respect, do you think then all the other characters that of course, it's a great nostalgia to see, Patrick Stewart again. Do you think they're going to bring him back in their own respects, again now? So, like, Captain Marvel is going to be the woman from WandaVision.
Well, Patrick Stewart didn't want to play Xavier.
Well, it's not going to be him because the writer said that Xavier was an amalgamation of all the Xaviers that we've seen before.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. It reminds me of Legion. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, I love that show.
Yep.
And the whole was so messed up.
It was ahead of its time.
Xavier?
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was the only representation after he retired in Logan that I heard Patrick Stewart said he'd be willing to come back because it was just so good, Yeah,
that show was so mind-bending, which it had to be for that character. Like, you didn't know what was real, what wasn't real, and the soundtrack for that show was just unbelievable.
Well, everybody was so good in the way they brought in, the dude from Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords, and Aubrey Plaza.
Oh, I love Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, and that show was just in its own right, like given like the treatment that it deserved. Noah Hawley, who created it, but it didn't. I don't think it got enough. If I was like a billionaire, I would just give it money, despite how the fans felt about it, and let them.
I don't even think it was that. I think it was another thing that fell victim to Disney buying Fox.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it was just at the wrong
so
time.
Well made.
Yeah, it was just at the wrong time. And
but
Disney
in that respect, I thought that's what Wanda did. Like what they did when they shot the inside Xavier's head, or him inside of her head, was exactly like Legion. Like it brought me back to that when I saw that moment. I'm like, yes, that's what we need. We need more of these, like showing, Professor X being the badass that he is. If they're going to present anything in the future that makes the X-Men series like, better and different than what Fox did, it'll have to be in like the House of M, the Onslaught series, the whole stuff that like, makes fans, perk up, right? We got to like remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure they're going to go on to, Secret Wars.
Well, I think the way they're doing X-Men 92, I think it's going to just jump right in Krakoa, and like it's already existed. They already living there.
Yeah.
But X-Men 92, they bring it in that, and it was never in the cartoon at all. So I think they're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, it's I liked the little nod to the '90s show when Xavier comes out and you hear the
theme song.
I was like, yes. But there was something else I wanted to say about that. My brain. Oh, well, another thing we learned from that is obviously Reed Richards is a better scientist than Tony Stark because he actually made Ultrons that worked.
But he didn't know how to keep his mouth shut to keep alive.
Yeah, but it's still, they made Ultrons and they were like under control and they weren't crazy and killing people. But it's good to see Wanda got to kill Ultron again. Did that not give you like the total Carrie vibes when she come out and like that like the oil and stuff all over her
That's
face?
True.
I was just like, ooh, that's freaky. Yeah.
It was definitely disturbing.
Yeah. I'm just glad it's like, oh, we better not make that blood. It's Disney. Won't make it be oil.
Yeah, make it the oil.
Yeah, from the thing. But yeah, it's and the end when he gets the third eye of Agamotto, whatever the heck that thing was. So it's like, what in the world's gonna happen now?
I mean, that was perfect that it was Sam Raimi, though, right? Because of how many times you watch Evil Dead and the eye just pops up out of nowhere, and you're like, why are you there?
Yeah. It's like,
I mean, it made a lot of sense to me.
Oh, I know the one other thing in the movie that kind of drove me nuts was when America and Strange are being held captive, and she's explaining to him about the multiverse, and she says about their Earth is 616.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Because 616 is the comic book universe, not the movie universe. And now they're like saying the movie universe is the comic book universe.
They have to adjust it now. Yeah.
It's how? How do you adjust it? For years you said the comic book universe is 616. And now you're saying the movie 616? So is it going to be
it's a setup. You know it's a setup, right?
616B?
Well, Mysterio said the same thing.
It's stupid.
Well, it's just for the Secret Wars, the entire Battle Earth situation. And the same thing with the way they use, I'm looking forward to Thor: Love and Thunder because of this. If this is Earth 616, then does that mean that it's Asgard 616? Like, how do you justify all the variations around the different universe in this universe before we get to other universes? Like we still got to deal with the Guardians, and we got to deal with all of the Celestials and all the insanity. And if that's the case, then we've got Celestials that are 616. It's.
I've always just assumed, I don't know if it's assumed, but that the MCU is based on the Ultimates universe. It just seems more in that vein. And then now they're like, no, it's 616. I'm like, no, because you know, our no, my brain just went.
Well, our timeline, or is what they're trying to get at. I feel like and they're like, if
they're trying to say that that's the main time. Like,
Yeah.
I think instead of just saying the main.
It depends what movie you're looking at though, because the Spider-Man movies are it could be the Ultimate, could be Venom and Spider-Man. Then like if you look at the
original Spider-Man movies,
it's 6.6. So it's like,
well, the Spider-Verse. He's talking about Into the Spider-Verse and the No Way Home, Far From Home, and all the home ones.
all the home movies.
Well, those are now like
Spider-Man, Home Alone.
Yes.
Spider-Man. What's it? Homeward Bound.
Yeah. How about yeah, right? Spider-Man at Home Depot.
Yeah.
We're gonna just. What I think is interesting though is Specs makes a good point that like they have and if you look at the Punisher that they had done at one time with Thomas Jane, that was an Ultimate Punisher, right? And so like there's something truthful to be said that they have attempted, whether it's Fox or Marvel or Sony anyway, to find the better stories in the books, and they keep coming back to the Ultimate stories, so it'll be the Ultimate Fantastic Four, I think, when they do it, hopefully.
Because I think the Ultimate books were written more for the adult, like the fans who had been around, and kind of like I was just talking to a friend today about Ultimate X-Men and how that is so screwed up, how Wolverine is Cable and he's Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's dad, and he sleeps with Scarlet Witch, and it's just like, no, what are we doing? Like, Kirkman, quit writing crap.
I hope I'm not the only one that knows what the technovirus is, and look forward to Strife and seeing like some like actual Cable stories. But
hey,
like,
Storm has that now in the comics.
The technovirus?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is a different level of hail if you think about it.
The only thing it was a good thing that Cable was a telepath or had telekinesis. That's the only thing that kept it from not turning into a freaking machine. So
well, he become Strife? Isn't Cable eventually?
No, Strife is a clone of Cable. From when he was a child, Apocalypse cloned him. Like, got it,
and then took his powers and accentuated them.
Kind of. He doesn't have the techno virus, so he's not fighting using most of his power to hold that at bay, as Cable is.
So who's stronger, Strife or X-Man?
Strife or X-Man?
Because they're both they're both Nate without the techno virus.
Wait, say that again.
Okay, Nate Gray, X-Man from the Age of Apocalypse storyline.
Yes,
young Cable. Gotcha. Strife are both the same, or Nathan Summers, or
same
Nathan
DNA.
Dayspring. Yeah, but without the techno virus, so they don't have. They're not like limiting their power.
Right.
So I don't know. That's interesting. I would probably say X-Man because he was also Sinister used him in the lab and did crap to him. So I would probably say that Nate Gray is probably stronger than.
Dude, that's one of the best storylines, though. The X-Men from the Age of Apocalypse. I love the idea of it, and it was a lot. I think of those books that had like that weird universe was darker, they just were like, screw it, let's run with it.
Especially when they brought him to the main universe, and now he was like a man.
He was like James Dean. He was like a badass.
Yeah, and he was like a man out of time.
Ocelot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's later on. We don't talk about that part of the X-Men.
Well, I just know that Wolverine is what it takes to cure the technovirus. So, and
he becomes Cable.
He gets that in the X deaths of Wolverine. He comes back as the whole entire virus.
Yeah, and he's like a robot Wolverine. Yeah.
All right, time travels.
The other thing I wanted to talk about before we get too far along was I don't know if any of you watched Moon Knight.
Yeah, I watched it
on Disney Plus.
Saw it.
All right, and what did you think of that? I have my
It was
thoughts.
definitely rushed. Definitely the bottom tier of the Marvel shows. And I hope they do better on Fantastic Four than that show. That's all I can say about that.
I mean, that's honesty. I think it felt like an Egyptian fight club, if you will. And there were parts of it that I really appreciated the acting, because I know Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac are just brilliant in their own right, you know.
Mhm.
But then, like, to see that they were forced to deal with the ridiculous choices that Marvel was making for, like, the animation elements, you know, Khonshu and all that, that didn't make me appreciate this. Like, I was like, okay, it's too heavy-handed. It reminded me a bit of like how Venom on screen was a little bit ridiculous in his personality, and unnecessarily ridiculous. Like, oh, let's see Venom at a rave, you know. Well, let's see, Khonshu like getting down with Ethan Hawke in a weird way. It was like just parts of it. In the beginning, let's put it that way. In the beginning, I really enjoyed like what they were doing, and I followed right along the storyline, and I was with it, right. And then after they got to Egypt, things started to like slip, and it became like way too much all at the once. And if you weren't like either a really big Moon Knight comic book fan, you may not get a lot of the references, or B, just a big fan of being on an acid trip in a TV series, then you would, because it's just over the top on some of the levels where I was like, okay, cool. So that they let Michael Bay do this part, and apparently, make it into Transformers in Egypt, but otherwise it was, I'm a huge Ethan Hawke fan usually, but I hated this character that he played, and the way that they let him play it out just was, I don't know. I don't know. That was my other part about it. Was like I just didn't like their villain. As I know, it's probably the actual Moon Knight villain. I'm not like a huge Moon Knight like fan. I don't follow it very much. But it was like whenever he switched either Moon Knight himself between like Mark and Isaac's Moon Knight, I'm like, okay, cool. The Tuxedo Moon Knight's going to do some like card magic close up, and then this Moon Knight is going to kill somebody. But like an Assassin's Creed version of it, So
Because I like the Jeff Lemire run in the comics, and that's really where they got the Asylum aspect of it from. I kind of like that part where we're seeing his personalities work together. But there was things that they never answered. Like you see that one sarcophagus bouncing around, and they never go back to it. Like, was that Jake? Was it like I don't understand that. And the end really did seem rushed. Like there was a lot of things I'm like, what are we doing like this for? But I had actually liked the kaiju fight in the season finale, just because it was just over the top ridiculous.
Until you blink and they did all the killing
Yeah.
off camera.
Well, it's Disney, so
Yeah, but in Falcon and Winter Soldier, they killed like 5 people on camera.
And now you go back and watch it, and that part's not in there anymore. They took out another part. They took out some violent stuff now too. If you go back to watch,
so we're in like real time editing now. Forget focus groups.
Yeah.
They're gonna add and cut things. I hope there's like a nice scene where like he talks to some birds and he sings and he avoids like a poisonous apple from a witch. Like how like what do we do to Moon Knight now that makes it more Disney or less?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least it's a character that I think. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but isn't. I don't know. I don't want to like hurt any fans of this TV show by saying it isn't as popular because there's somebody that's a Moon Knight fanatic out there.
Yeah.
Into this.
But you also got to look back. The whole MCU is built on characters that weren't that popular.
That's true.
When Iron Man came out, that book was on the verge of getting canceled. Like nobody was reading Iron Man.
Wow.
Like, and when they made that movie, you're like, Iron Man, this is the guy you're gonna make, like Iron Man. And without Iron Man, there would be no MCU because
I mean, but that was like a real world like cinematic sort of saga of watching Robert Downey Jr. just like rise from the ashes.
And it helped that Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. So, I mean,
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah,
in real life.
he's Tony Stark. So there was like perfect, but it was perfect casting. I was really hoping to see Tom Cruise in
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, but in the same time, I'm glad he wasn't because I can't stand Tom Cruise.
I mean, that's
really-
the problem with Tom Cruise is like he's actually a decent actor if he wasn't so psychotic outside of that, you know? Like I've had tons of people come up to me and be like, "What do you think of Tom Cruise?" I'm like, "Can we not talk about Tom Cruise?" But like it's hard to deny how many, like we said in the other thing, films, especially in the MCU, were oddly affected because of this one little man. You know, and now we have the Wolverine that we have, and we have the Iron Man that we have in some respects because of him. So,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. Maybe Scientology does work in some weird way. But
I still think his best role was in Tropic Thunder.
oh God, it's so good.
He never
Like-
go full retard.
I never realized that was when I first saw it. I saw it twice in the theaters in a week. The first time I watched it, I had no idea that was Tom Cruise, like none whatsoever. And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, crushed it.
Yeah.
Although I
he's
love
like,
Matthew McConaughey in that movie.
well, Matthew McConaughey is just Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Don't forget your TiVo.
No,
But
even though I haven't seen Moon Knight, I mean, it does for the time frame and for other things that are out there. Again, since we already talked about Young Avengers, you know what they're doing with MCU. This actually brings up where Midnight Suns could be right on the verge of coming out.
Yeah.
But are they going to do it right? That's my question right now, because it seems like they're pulling in so many different directions. They're not actually trying to tie anything together. And again, I haven't seen Moon Knight to see how this goes with that. But to do Midnight Suns correctly, you really have to kind of treat that with kid gloves to make it a success, is what I'm hoping for, at least with the characters they have.
Yeah. My thing, like this Phase 4 is really confusing me because you go back and you watch, you know, Phase 1, 2, and 3. You could see lineal, like where they were heading to. And with this stuff, it's like all over the map. I have no idea where they're trying to take this to. And I mean, you have the magic part, you know, stuff. You still have the space stuff with, you know, that. And then I mean, it's just like all of this stuff that we don't know where it's coming. And like I told Phil before the show with, I'll wait till Jonathan comes back on. With Moon Knight, the final episode, I was waiting to see, okay, is this how they're going to tie it into the rest of the MCU? I mean, it's ending the day before, you know, Doctor Strange 2 comes out. Like, it ends on a Wednesday. Doctor Strange comes out Thursday. It's a perfect time to tie them together, to show us how this, you know, and there was nothing. They never even mentioned anybody else in the MCU in the whole thing of Moon Knight. Like, you never even, like, not even they could have had, like, on the TV, like, the news going on. They could have, like, just mentioned the Avengers on the news in the background. Nothing.
well, bigger picture, it's another metaverse. You know, like they're like the way they showed Moon Knight. There's various versions of the, you know, you bring it back to the Midnight Suns thing. You know, it's like, okay, cool. We've already established that there might be, you know, Asgard as like a heaven like location, and there's going to be like a hell like location. You know, Morbius didn't have
Eventually.
What?
Morbius eventually. They keep like teasing us with Morbius.
Yeah, Morbius eventually. But
Oh,
where
I
was
mean-
Blade? You know,
I
where
mean-
was Blade?
Morpheus. I meant Morpheus, not Morbius.
Oh, Morpheus.
I don't count Morbius because that's a Sony thing and it's on its own.
All right. I mean, like, I know that a lot of things with COVID kind of like threw them off track, is what I keep coming back to when, like, to answer your question about like why is it so all over the place. But I think like they're getting their bearings again, and they're gonna start bringing in, like, thank God, because the Fox deal is like over with. You know, they're gonna be able to like really rein in some of the nonsense. You know, maybe put people on different drugs. I don't know what it's gonna take, but
Do y'all think Kanju will be in Love and Thunder?
Conju, no.
He's a
No.
guy.
I know, but he's a
Because he's a god. That's a good point.
That is a good point.
I
Yeah,
don't see it.
you know, like that's the other thing is where's Love and Thunder going to tie into Doctor Strange 2?
It's probably not because Thor doesn't tie into any of.
That's not true.
Unfortunately,
He keeps refilling
The
his beer.
Guardians.
but he only ties into like the Avengers. Like his movies
The Guardians.
never tie into any.
He's
well,
the leader of
now
the
it's with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah,
He's
that's
the
the
leader.
only thing. He's a Ravager actually, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'd like to
so-
see them all like at a poker game with those like refillable beers, and just seeing like Doctor Strange like win one hand after another, and being like, "Oh, you guys are getting drunk." Huh? I mean, well, Thor knows all about that. You know what I mean? Just have this like whole like they got Thai food, right? What was it after the one Avengers?
Shawarma.
Shawarma, yeah, Indian food. You know, so
Yeah.
Have y'all seen that new promotional poster? Yeah, it looks like they had photoshopped somebody out the poster.
Yep.
who they Photoshop
No.
out?
Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's Beta Ray Bill
Yep.
Oh,
because you
That's
can clearly see there's like something.
yeah, there's something there.
there. Yeah.
Well, everybody's hoping it's him because you want to see a new Hammer too, because you already got two of them that are spoken for. So what is he going to have?
Yeah.
He gotta have a mace.
Exactly.
Oh, this is a question that we had thought we had come today. Me and my friends talking about. Why? Like it, you've seen the trailer, right? When Thor's fighting, and then he turns around, Mjolnir's there. He's like Mjolnir, and he goes to grab it, and it flies back to Jane. Why doesn't he have Mjolnir? Because at the end of Endgame, Mjolnir was there. So what happens? What happens to Mjolnir to the past?
No, but yeah, Captain America took it back.
Did he? That's what I thought, but I didn't know if they actually showed it or not.
Well, they showed him with the hammer before he
Yep.
stepped into the machine.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure. I thought
They had to take
what
it back
happened-
because it'll mess the timeline.
Timeline
They
up,
need
yeah.
the hammer.
Yeah, they had to take it back.
Yep.
because that's what
But-
I assumed, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Plus,
Like,
she's wasn't she like she had the essence, whatever, of one of the stones in her, and they took it that, and so now she's, I don't know. I'm interested to see how they use Natalie Portman in making Love and Thunder. I mean, I'm also interested in how they use Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. That's like Gore.
Russell Crowe
Gore
and Zeus?
reminds me. What? Say again?
Russell Crowe as Zeus.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, you remember Ronin, right?
Yeah.
That's what Gore reminds me of. Yeah.
The Accuser.
Well, he's such a good actor, the guy that played him, and it's just like the same thing. Like it took me back until I had to like, wait. That's right. Oscar Isaac was already in the MCU, and I forgot he was Apocalypse. He did such a good job. You know, I mean, just like you're talking about, with Tom Cruise and that Tropic Thunder. Like I had to like remind myself, oh, okay. And I forget who the actor was. I forget his name, but I used to tell everybody, like, if you really like, Ronan from Guardians and all the, Infinity Stone saga, you should see that actor in this TV show. Now I'm freaking out. It's like an AMC show, and I bummed when I go blank on these things. But it was like a computer show. Halt and Catch Fire.
Halt and Catch Fire, yeah.
Yeah, that's for like the real true computer nerds out there. Such a great show. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I don't know where they're gonna take it, but I'm fascinated because like I said, there's just so many different like loose ends that they need to tie up right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of She-Hulk?
Well, we'll see.
What Ghost Rider do you think they're gonna use?
Ooh.
I don't think it'll be Johnny Blaze because that was done with already. And
But they got the one in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. already.
Yeah.
Ready to go. And they
Yeah.
brought back Black Bolt, so why not? And
Yeah.
and the guy was cast to be in that show on Hulu, but they stopped it.
yeah, I would love to see Danny Ketch because Danny Ketch is my Ghost Rider. Like that's the Ghost Rider I grew up with, and always been my favorite. So I would like to see that Ghost Rider, but chances are it's going to be Reyes, just because it's easier to do a car than a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, and they did already introduce his character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it isn't going to be like, oh my God, we got to like show this how this guy came around again. Like, I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be. 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 I don't think it's going to be
Anything to bring Coulson back. That's my spirit. Like, if they could find a way to tie it in, because what better weird human being to survive, all these different parts of the experience and not have any power whatsoever besides just being cocky and going bald.
Well, the thing with Coulson is, how many times did he die? Because the Coulson at the end is not the real Coulson.
Nope.
Because he died, and that's like a clone, whatever.
Right. They brought back this weird, what is his name? A weird warrior version of it. What they call Sarah Connor version of Coulson.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
But it's the comics. Anything's possible.
Yeah. The other thing with Thor, if you notice in the trailer, this is like a thing I've heard some people talk about. Every time they've shown Jane, she's been in her Thor costume. Like, you never see her just as Jane, where you see Thor out of his Thor costume.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But so, like, the theory I've heard going around is, if you remember in the comic book run, Jane has cancer. So whenever she becomes Thor, her body heals itself. But when she goes back to being Jane, it wipes out all the chemo. So she's actually sicker when she goes back to being Jane than when she was before she became Thor. So people think that that's what's going to happen in the show. So they don't want, in the movie, they don't want to ruin that for you to see it, like that she's like very sick and dying. So all the parts they show you is her as Thor.
Can I say something to that?
Yep.
You know what? I think this actually brings a good point. In Shang-Chi, they cut out an idea that they had to have Deadpool fighting Proxima Midnight, which would have been an amazing opportunity to like bring in Deadpool into the new MCU and have a great cameo. Now they can have it where they're both at chemo. What? Is that not appropriate?
I've gone through some of that chemo, so I know what you're talking about.
I just think it'd be a really good moment for them to meet, and like have that, oh, you lost your powers too situation.
But that would be hilarious. Like, he'd be all burned up, like, just sitting there like, chilling. You could just see him chilling, and she'd walk in and be like, hey.
Right? Like, do you want to see my gown? He walks away saying, like,
yeah, like he has the gown on, and it's up, and you see his butt, And
yeah, the whole
nurse
bird.
Is like, the nurse like, sir, you don't need the. But he's the only one like in the robe with him. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Another theory I've been seeing on the internet, they could be using deep fakes like they did on the Infinity Wars. About some of these Thors we see, it could be somebody else. Could be different Thors, but it's just same. What his name?
Same Hemsworth.
Where her name? Yeah.
Well, one thing that like got me when they first showed pictures from the set, and you saw him with the vest, and I thought for sure they were going to do Thunderstrike, because I love Thunderstrike. I actually did a cosplay of Thunderstrike. I have Thunderstrike in my room. It's actually made it. It's got real chain and everything. So I was like, oh man.
I think a lot of the elements that they have in the comic books, they've tried to explore power-wise and storyline-wise to the best of their ability. But under like each different director, whether it's like Kenneth Branagh or Taika Waititi, you're experiencing not only like a variation of respect for like the mythology, but also a need to like keep the audience entertained with what is already working. That's why Guardians of the Galaxy completely changed the Thor movie Ragnarok. Like, I think Ragnarok would not at all been as ridiculous as it was.
Yeah, if it wasn't for James Gunn's success at making a MCU comedy.
But it was great. It was perfect, in that respect. Like, because the truth for me anyway, as like I'm a big Spider-Man dork, but the beauty of almost all of my like childhood comic books was the hilarity in their personalities. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he was a goofy nerd, but he had the best one-liners, you know. And then like Deadpool comes along, and he's like competing for one-liners, you know. And so I have like a certain healthy desire to see them make fun of Punisher in real time at some point, you know, because that's what they do, you know. Like I want to see the flame on like hilarity with you know, Human Torch, and everybody like, bro, you really, that's the one you want to go with? That's the catchphrase? All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
All
right, Specs said he has to go. So before you go, Specs, just let everyone know where they can find you in the interwebs, and let me know what book you want for the group review for next week.
All right. The book wise, I don't know. Let's go with that one. That what, 5 bullets and 6 bodies one. Yeah.
All right. Yes.
I don't know anything about the book, but the title just grabbed me.
Yeah, Todd Black is the writer of that. He's pretty big. I think, Phil, do you know Todd?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the writer of that. It's through is it Scout or no, Source Point?
Source Point. Yeah.
Putting that out. So yeah, I should be able to get that because it's a previews book. If not, I'll get hold of Todd and he'll send me a copy of it. So
Okay.
yeah, so either way, I'll have it. But and so if anyone wants to find you on these things we call the interweb, where can they find you?
You can find me on social media at Legacy to View. That's Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok now. And you want to check out my website of my own comic book. It's called Legacy to View. You can check it out at legacy.com. I got 3 issues up there right now, as well as a spin-off series. So check me out. Specs Thompson, I'm out. See y'all.
See you next week, Specs. All right. Boom, boom, boom. So there was something else. Oh, I
just want to say one thing because
Yep.
I don't want to get any fans upset at my knocking Johnny Storm's "Flame On" catchphrase. Anybody out there that's a big supporter of propane and propane accessories on social media, just realize that I believe in the industry, and flaming on for your purposes is important for all of our sustenance, and we can move forward from there without offending any fans.
That's right. But
Sponsored by Hank Hill. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
that boy ain't right.
Damn it, Bobby!
Damn it, Bobby! But
What the hell?
Oh, it's so good. Oh my god! Last week's Family Guy, they threw the ball too far playing with Brian, and it went on to the family. It went on to the King of the Hill front yard. Like, oh man, that dog's got problems.
But back to what you're saying about how the Marvel movies got kind of messed up there with COVID and stuff. I don't know if it seemed like this to any of you guys. Well, of course, Phil didn't see it, but it seems like Doctor Strange should have came out before Spider-Man. Because in Spider-Man, he knew about the multiverse, and he like, this is what we have to do. But in Doctor Strange, it was like he had no idea about the multiverse. It was like, oh my god. So it just seems like they're out of order. And they threw in that line in Doctor Strange where he mentions about the Spider-Man situation. And I think that line was just thrown in so you know that it's, but just the way the story is and his actions doesn't match that he would already know about the multiverse.
I agree with you that it did seem out of place in the way it was. And what's interesting to me is the only thing that I think like tweaked it to be like possible. Well, how do I put it? Was the I don't know. It's like I just keep thinking like if they had it all connected, you know, between Sony and Marvel correctly, then like they would know that the What If series kind of addressed this a little bit already, you know. And there's parts of him like going through the training of trying to get back his girlfriend in the What If storyline that I was like, oh, okay, because I saw this, I see why, like when he finds that other version of Strange, in Doctor Strange 2, that is the exact storyline that they're going through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got a plane going on overhead. But that was like the only sort of thing for me that tied it together as him going, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And in Spider-Man, the way that it was arranged, it almost made me think like it was possible that he had forgotten about creating the multiverse. If the enchantment that he broke in the end of that Spider-Man movie had worked on him as well, then yes, he wouldn't know about the multiverse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a possibility, but I don't think it seems logical given what happened in What If, given like the potential for him to have like seen a glimpse of the darkest version of himself and not have it like stick with him kind of,
Yeah.
Because it clearly stuck with what's her face, Tilda Swinton, Shit, she shows up just to say something to the Hulk, like, yo, you got to watch out for Doctor Strange. And then in Doctor Strange 2, Mordo and the Illuminati are like, oh yeah, you should watch out for Doctor Strange. So it seems ridiculous for him to not know about the multiverse if he's like the biggest threat in all the other multiverses.
Yes. But, all right. I'm trying to think.
Oh, hey, I have a question for you guys because there's been a bit of Fantastic Four talk. Do you remember the Venture Brothers?
Yes.
And how Stephen Colbert and they had that whole like spin-off sort of a few episodes with the Fantastic Four being kind of like spoofed. And Stephen Colbert did the voice of Reed Richards. And like whenever like the Human Torch would like turn on, it would like burn him incredibly, and like the Invisible Woman was like just her muscles that you'd see. It was just her skin. I want that. Like that's what I want for the Fantastic Four movie. It's just a real fun, like tongue-in-cheek. We know how stupid these characters are. We can't deny how, excuse my language, fucking dumb it is to send them into space, get bombarded, and then not all of them come back as the Phoenix or something. Like the Phoenix, I kind of bought. You know what I mean? And why? I don't know why. But gamma rays, I bought all that. But like as a kid growing up, the Fantastic Four were just
what's in them that each of them came back with different stuff?
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. But
and why does poor Ben get the shaft in it?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, this again. Back
he
to
has
the
to find.
idea,
He has to find a blind girlfriend just so he can...
For real. It's no help. But it's like I got it. They were doing like their own version of the Captain Planet.
Before
they're all
there was a
elementals
Captain
of sorts.
Yeah. Before there was Captain Planet.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I hope they get like the Fantastic Four a little, because like I hate to say it, but like some of their cooler characters outside of them, Silver Surfer, Galactus, like the relationships, their own son. Oh my God, Franklin Richards is the best character in the MCU.
Well, did you notice that little bit of what in the movie, what he says to Wanda?
Do you have a family?
He goes, I have a family too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, oh, so at least,
Well, I'm a hardcore Onslaught dork. Like I got every single Onslaught book and all the tie-ins and everything related to it, because to me, I was like, this is one of the most brilliant characters. But also, if we're going to keep playing with the multiverse, you have a mutant that creates pocket universes. I mean, that's end of the game, end of story.
Yeah. The best thing about Franklin is he is so powerful that he made himself no longer a mutant.
Yeah.
Like, like what?
Well, wasn't his best friend, what was the bald guy that took all the powers away in Logan? He's a worm or something.
He's a Morlock.
Morlock, yeah.
He's a Morlock in the comic book, but I'm trying to remember what Leech.
Leech, that's it. But that's like Franklin Richards just hangs out with Leech all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do.
Yeah. That's kind of how they work.
I'll agree with what Jonathan was saying about, the way that we need to see the next, Fantastic Four movie and everything. However, I'm going to throw it out there right now. We need a good Dr. Doom. Come on. Doom is so iconic and epic, and they are missing the mark on everything on here. Right now, we've got capability of having magic, capability of having all this cosmic power, all of this imbued into one individual like it needs to be correctly. Come on, y'all got to do it correctly for once.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, I actually thought the guy that they cast originally, when it was like the Chris Evans, like, was actually a really good casting choice. He looked the part. I just thought like they gave him a terrible script. Like the character itself wasn't played into its best strength,
and he just became like a metal thing.
So he just became a metal Lex Luthor.
Yeah, well, that too. But I mean, it was like his armor was like his skin and stuff. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't buy it. Like trying to make him like the Thing in its own way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I did like. There's a lot of casting in that original Fantastic Four movies I liked. Like I liked Michael Chiklis as Ben.
Exactly.
I mean, that was perfect for that time. Like, now Michael Chiklis wouldn't make sense because no one knows who the Commission is.
I mean, he's great in Gotham. I mean, if you saw the Gotham,
he just played the Commission though. That was
right. I mean, but I also agree with you that like the people that they got, you know, would be fun because they were talking about that in the Deathpool too. You know, to have Chris Evans come back as Human Torch as a joke. And I'm like, why? Why not? Like, let's keep the ball rolling. Like, because
it's the multiverse. We can.
Well, that's what I think they figured it out. If anything's clear from the Spider-Man movies, the multiple actors playing the same character works.
It works. Yeah.
And not only that, but you bring that up because people that were dead in those universes, as in, you know, whether they be villains or even the good guys, now there's a possibility they're actually alive. And different things can change now, so you can rewrite anything now. Just do it the right way. Just do it where it's got to be contained enough to where it flows within the multiverses. It can't be just I'm going to do a story over here my way, you do your story over this way, and we'll just see if they mesh. You can't do it. They actually have to mesh at some point. And No Way Home actually did a good job of doing that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
really well done.
It tied them all together so well. So that was
exactly.
And I think they did that really well with Quicksilver and WandaVision. I think that the possibility is like very obvious to everybody at Marvel.
That show, I mean, I loved the show. Like, there's people say, "Oh, it was too slow and it took forever." I actually enjoyed those first couple episodes where it was going through the old 50s, 60s, 70s sitcoms kind of stuff. But there was just so many things I kept like, we're going to give you this, but then we're going to take it away. We're going to give you, then we're going to take it away. Like, because, you know, the whole thing, you kept thinking that Reed Richards was going to come because, you know, they kept talking about her friend who was an astro scientist. And so it's going to be Reed Richards. This is how they're going to bring Reed Richards. And then it wasn't. And then you had Quicksilver who wasn't. His name was like Dickhead or something. Like, what was his name?
Yeah.
It was an obvious phallic joke. I mean, that was his name. Like, Richard Head or something. I don't.
Well, what I do like about that, because like I said, I watched that after watching Doctor Strange 2, and then I also was watching the X-Men stuff. They did that also. It was like, 10 years later, it's 1973. It's 10 years later, 1983, 1993, 2003. You know, and there's like this way of like making it clear, even though like, Dark Phoenix was not that great, but they showed how each of those characters and those actors too were aging. They were moving forward in time on the same timeline, not like the X-Men and WandaVision together, but like when you see every episode, okay, it's the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I really thought the production design for both of those universes anyway was really well done to respect the times that they were trying to be in, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I Love Lucy was brilliant on WandaVision, you know? And just seeing Vision himself crack in the process of it all was its own little sort of like, whodunit Sherlock Holmes kind of vibe. That was really cool. Like on Halloween, he's wandering around, but it's the 80s for me, or is it the 90s? It's the 90s.
I don't.
You know.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It was like, okay, what is it? The one time it's My So-Called Life, or another time it's Modern Family, right?
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's.
Is she dead though? Is what you're saying? Wanda's gone.
It's iffy because when the Wandamere like crashed, you can see like there was a red flash. So you don't know if she like at the last second, you know, teleported out or something. I mean, she's a Nexus being, so I doubt something falling on her would kill her.
That's what I had a problem with the way she killed Captain Marvel. I was like, that's how you're gonna take her out. I was like pulling a statue on Captain Marvel, like that is illogical, but whatever, we're gonna roll with it.
I really wish they would have had Marvel.
Right. Oh yeah.
it was another chance to have Marvel, and they don't do it. It's like, because the Marvel they give us in the Captain Marvel movie was shit. I
Yeah.
couldn't lie. Like, that's not Marvel.
Well, hopefully we can move forward and like not like get too crazy with it, but eventually talk about like Secret Wars. I'm excited about all of that because I have the number 8 with the original symbiote costume in my collection. And every time that idea comes out, like, oh, it's a new Venom, and the price goes up. But I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, the price of that comic is going to go through the roof when Secret Wars gets released in the MCU.
Yeah.
So,
and it's true, and that is one thing that I've noticed, even coming up to date on these things here. And yeah, I've missed a couple of them that we're talking about tonight, but some of the other ones, it's all an experiment that they're doing. Because if you look at the time frame of whenever Disney Plus came out and everything, this is all about social media and building up. Because people who have never heard of Disney, never heard of Marvel, never heard of whatever the case may be on there, different things that are on there, they're able to actually control that through social media just because of the buildup on there of going, is Beta Ray Bill going to be on this one? Is, Scarlet Witch going to be dead at the end of this one? Whatever the case may be, it's all the social media buildup that's on there, and it really builds up the hype. And if you look at everything that's on there and how many Reddits are out there, and things are still going currently to date and to the minute right now, and they just keep going, they can pull from that anytime they want to, and they can change the timeline. They can change characters. They can change the entire storyline. And all it does is create more of that social media presence. So that's something that I can see what they're doing, that the MCU is not necessarily 616 is the way I'm looking at it. It is their version of 616 as an MCU, and they can do whatever they want to. They've got the power to do it because everyone that's out there as viewers and all, we're actually feeding into it as much as we can. I mean, that's just my look at it.
I agree. And I think that goes all the way back to when Robert Downey Jr. was cast. And they looked it out to the internet to find what they really felt about this idea, and they won. And on some levels, it's a terrible idea. Let's not forget Spider-Man 3.
Let's do.
I liked Spider-Man 3 at points.
Well, Venom in a ball of confetti was played by That 70s Show was not what I wanted.
Exactly.
Everybody else told them that.
But Sandman was good in that.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is why he came back.
Yeah.
Did he, though? Did he really? I think just his voice did.
Well, he actually, they pulled together footage, I heard.
Yeah, because I don't think it was really, I think it was just his voice.
Yeah.
We never actually saw Sandman except for in the big cloudy thing. But,
right.
And you didn't like Emo Peter? Come on, that dance.
At the time, it was a big deal, I guess, to go all swing emo.
Yeah, come on.
I just felt like Sam Raimi was way too pressured in that moment, and we all had to suffer. So,
yeah,
I do have to admit there was one point where I was watching No Way Home, and whenever they look over at the first Peter, the original one at Toby, and they're like, did you bring a suit? And I'm thinking, no, he did not. And I was waiting to see him pull it back and have the black suit. And sure enough, he had the regular one. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, because I thought the dance would come after that.
Oh, that's so funny. Like a whole 3-way Spider-Man sort of flash mob.
I was glad. I liked that they used the suits from their movies, but fixed them.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
We're going to. And of course, then the post-credit scene when you finally realize these were all prequels to him actually being Spider-Man.
Yep.
He was not Spider-Man until the end of this one.
Well, that's the multiverse in a nutshell, right there, right? When Electro says, "Oh, I was hoping there'd be a black Spider-Man."
Yeah.
It's teed up for like the best entrance.
Yeah, but we are teed up. You speaking about teed up? We are teed up for Ben Reilly. So. Yes.
Yeah. I'm the one person that didn't mind the Clone Wars. I love that.
So did I. I didn't mind it. It was long time. I'm a wrestling fan. That was long-term booking. Is what that was.
Scarlet Spider is so cool.
Yeah.
So.
But then again, when they brought the book back a few years ago and he was in Vegas, I did not like him being Deadpool light.
Yeah, I
No.
agree. That's not the same. I mean, like, I love the idea of him and Mary Jane retiring peacefully in California and being left alone to their own devices, trying to save people around one tall building, which is where I live. You know?
But there was something. I don't remember. I had something else, but I can't. And everyone's phones are dying.
Yeah, my phone's gonna die. I'm at 4%.
All right. So before you die, what book did you want to review next week?
I like the Edgar Allan Poe stuff.
Which I will be able to get because I have all of the other Edgar Allan Poe stuff I checked. So if I have those, obviously that will be available to me too.
I would love to check that stuff out. I did a Edgar Allan Poe play during the pandemic, wearing like a mask. It was ridiculous, but I got to do Telltale Heart, Annabelle Lee, and we really got to act it out on stage. So,
all right.
Curious where they go with it on the comics.
And how about you, Phil? Did you see the list?
I am actually bringing it back up again because I'm old and I forget things very quickly.
Yeah. Join the club. That's why I have notebooks.
Exactly.
People come to my house and there's literally a notebook sitting everywhere.
Same here. Same here. Of course, my first one was the Edgar Allan Poe book. That's a definite because I'm a huge Poe fan, as in anyway. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 of his the big books with all of his stuff in there, just laying around somewhere on the shelf up there. But if I had to go with something else different on there, it's kind of a throw up between Cerberus, because I love that series that was out there. It was fun, it was lighthearted, but it also was very dark at the same time, which is kind of cool. So I want to see what's going on with that. But the all new Firefly, I am a huge fan of Firefly. They got to bring it back, and they got to bring it back the right way. And if the comics are actually kind of laying the foundation for that, let's go Firefly.
Have you read any of the Firefly? I mean, because they've had comics out since the show went off the air.
Not the all new. The all new.
Yeah, I'll see.
This one is issue number 4, I think.
Yeah, around there.
Can I see all the previous 4 for that? Because I want to.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. As long as I can see that, because if I go into it blind and watch, just looking at this, and I find out someone else died, and I'm gonna be crying during the show and everything, it's not gonna be fun. It's not gonna be pretty. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, because as long as when we do a book, as long as it ain't like 150 issues beforehand,
Exactly.
I can get you the books. All right, Jonathan. See you next week.
See you next week, guys. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, make sure you read some comics this week, and we'll be back. See you next Wednesday.
See you, buddy. Bye.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
All right, Phil. Tell everybody where they can find you. In case any of these crazy people want to look you up and find
really
some
simple.
stuff.
You just look up Phil Locklear on Facebook. You'll see my ugly mug right there. Look for the bald head. It's usually right there. Sorry if I blinded everybody right there on that one, but I was trying to cover it up the whole time. But that's the easiest place to find me. Right now, we are transitioning on some different things on there. My shows are no longer being held right now. I am not hosting any shows. We're doing something very big with the business side. I cannot talk about it. There's a lot of things that I can't say and do and all. But everything I can do behind the scenes, so we're working on that. So follow me on Phil Locklear on Facebook. You'll find out everything you need to see on there. YouTube is going to be retooled here shortly. It's Demonation Sensation, SINTION. So if you go ahead and follow me over there, you'll see some stuff, and we'll be having some fun. But I mean, aside from that, I have campaigns that are coming in, crowdfunding, things like that, that I'm going to start doing reviews as they come in. I've got a stack and a half behind me. Behind the green screen, or behind the storm, should I say, that I have to go through, that I'll be going in and doing some reviews on those as well. Just trying to get some extra exposure out there for some people that I know that are working hard on their campaigns, and that's what I'll be doing.
That's kind of what we do on Friday nights. Actually, I don't have my list. But Friday night, the same bat time, same bat channel, I'll be on with Katrina Roach in our Hooligan Alley Hangout show. And Philip Mara will be our guest, and his book is Purple Eyes Anthology. So we'll be talking to him on Friday night. You can find us here on YouTube. The best way to do it is just search Hooligan Alley Hangout, because I don't have a whole bunch of followers, so they won't let me get a cool little thing that makes it easier to share instead of it's a big thing that makes no sense. So if you just search Hooligan Alley Hangout, you'll find us. But I forgot to pick a book for this week, and I have no clue what they are because I'm not even there. So my book will be a surprise until I post it tomorrow or Friday. It'll be a surprise to me, most likely, because I'm one of these people, because I read everything, like I literally read everything. So it's more or less, I'll go down through and see, what book fits kind of what I want to talk about this week. So we never even got to that discussion because we've already gone for 2 hours. So I'll have to bring that up maybe when we get a guest on to talk about the use of classic literature and characters in modernizing them and putting them into today's media, much like 2 of the books we read this week, and that was why I thought of that. But we got on to talking about other stuff and we never made it to there, so we'll table that for another time because I'm sure next month we're going to have another issue of that, and then we'll be right back onto it. So you can find us, like I said, Hooligan Alley Hangout. You find me here at JW Sims or James Sims, both work. I'm on Twitter, barely. I'm there. I'm more like creep on people than actually post stuff on Twitter, which is probably JW_Sims there. And I don't know where else I am. Instagram, which I never post to anymore. I'm the worst social media person in the world. I don't post anything. I creep on everything and don't post anything. So have a good week, guys. Get out there, read some comic books, have some fun. Watch some. Hey, Friday, the new Obi-Wan show starts on HBO. On HBO. Listen to me. On Disney Plus. So I'm sure next week we'll be able to talk a little bit about that show.
And Stranger Things.
That's right. That'll come out before we're back again.
Yes.
I totally forgot. So Stranger Things season 4.
Season 4.
And it broke up into 2 parts, right? Part 1,
That
part
is
2.
correct.
Yes. So we will also have the season premiere of that. Speaking of, I just noticed on Netflix today that like season 3 or whatever is back into the top 10. So people must be getting ready for it. So we might have a bunch of stuff to talk about next week. I don't know if you got into the new Star Trek stuff. We touched a little bit of that last week. I've been watching the new show, the Pike show. I don't remember what it's called.
Brave New Worlds. No,
Brave New. It's taken right off.
Something like that. Yeah.
I've really liked that. Like I've talked last week because it harkens back to the original show where it's episodic things and not like you have to watch them all in a special order or you'll never get the whole story. So it's nice to actually have an episodic show, which we haven't had for a very long time in anything.
Right.
It's pretty much the MCU shows are just a movie they decided we're just going to cut up that have no beginnings, no endings. It's just there. But anyways, we're out of here. Have fun. See you next week, Phil. And like I said, we will be. Oh, also, if anyone's watching this and you have a book and you want us to review your book, just get in touch with us. We'll be sure to read it and let you know what we think. So have fun and have a good, safe holiday weekend, everybody.